There is a disturbing trend rippling through the demographic data, a silent strike that no one in the mainstream wants to acknowledge. You see it in the eyes of men who have supposedly made it. Men in their 50s and 60s. Men with assets, careers, and the kind of stability that should make them the most sought-after catch in the dating marketplace. But they aren't buying. They are looking at the offer on the table, and they are politely, firmly declining. This isn't the reaction of the bitter or the defeated. We aren't talking about men who can't get a date. We are talking about men who have looked at the modern relationship contract and found it fundamentally insolvent. Society tells you that if you are alone at this age, you are malfunctioning. Your married friends look at you with a mixture of pity and suspicion. Your family whispers that you must be depressed, or perhaps you've just given up. They try to fix you with setups and blind dates, assuming your solitude is a wound that needs stitching. They are wrong. You haven't given up on life. You've simply woken up to the reality of the transaction. You remember the drive you had at 25, the biological imperative that screamed at you to build, to provide, to protect, to merge your life with someone else's. That was a biological program, not a logical decision. But now, the fog has cleared. You have survived the divorces, the custody battles, or the slow, grinding death of a marriage that lasted 10 years too long. You have seen behind the curtain. You realize that the loneliness everyone warns you about is actually a marketing tactic used to sell you a product you no longer need. The successful older man isn't withdrawing because he is afraid of intimacy. He is withdrawing because he has finally run the cost-benefit analysis of modern companionship, and the numbers are bleeding red. You are not broken. You are simply the first generation of men to realize that the return on investment for a relationship in the latter half of life isn't just zero, it's negative. Let's open the books. To the outside world, your refusal to date looks like stubbornness. But inside your head, it is simply a matter of accounting. You are running a business, and that business is your remaining time on Earth. When you audit the cost of a modern relationship against the revenue it generates, the venture is bankrupt. We are not talking about the financial cost of dinner dates or vacations, though those are real. We are talking about the invisible tax, the extraction of your mental energy. Think back to the compromise, that soft, diplomatic word society uses to describe the slow erosion of your identity. You remember the negotiations, don't you? The silent debates about how you spend your Saturday afternoon. The feeling of walking on eggshells in your own hallway, gauging the emotional temperature of the house before you even put your keys in the bowl. That is the price of admission. And what is the market asking of you now? If you choose to re-enter the dating pool, you are not stepping into a partnership. You are stepping into an audition. You are expected to take a lifetime of hard-won stability, your resources, your emotional resilience, your home, and place it on the scale. In exchange, you are often met with a list of demands from a partner who has not done the work you have done. You are competing with ghosts of ex-husbands and the impossible standards of a fantasy. You realize that to win this game, you must surrender your autonomy. You must trade the ability to make a unilateral decision for the privilege of companionship. The ledger shows a stark imbalance. You give up your sovereignty. You give up the right to silence. You give up the freedom to be selfish with your own time. And in return, you get a presence that demands to be managed. The math is not difficult, it is undeniable. You aren't afraid of commitment. You are simply unwilling to sign a contract where the liabilities exceed the assets by a factor of 10. Here is the secret that no doctor, therapist, or pharmaceutical ad will tell you. They frame the decline of your testosterone as a crisis, a medical emergency that must be treated so you can remain a perpetually hungry consumer of affection. But if you look closely, you will realize it is actually a gift. For the first time in your life, the chemical fog has lifted. Think back to when you were 25. You were not driving the car, your biology was. You were flooded with a potent cocktail of hormones that evolved for one specific purpose: to override your judgment. That biological imperative made you blind. It made you tolerate behavior that was objectively intolerable. It made you ignore red flags that were burning right in front of your face, all because the primitive part of your brain was screaming at you to pursue, to conquer, to reproduce. You were drunk on your own chemistry. Now in your older years, you are finally sober. The frantic urgency is gone. The blinding need to overlook a woman's chaotic nature just because she is physically attractive has evaporated. And what is left in its wake is a dangerous, razor-sharp clarity. You can now look at a potential partner and evaluate her not as a biological target, but as a human being. You analyze her solely on the merits of her character and the reality of her contribution to your life. You ask the questions your younger self was too intoxicated to ask. Is she reasonable? Is she kind? Does she bring silence or noise? Does she add value, or does she extract energy? Without the chemical override forcing you to say yes, your logical brain is finally free to say no. This terrifies society. A man who cannot be manipulated by his own libido is a man who cannot be controlled. They call you emotionally unavailable because you are no longer biologically compromised. But the truth is simpler. You are seeing the transaction without the rose-colored distortion. And without the drugs running through your veins, you realize the deal was never in your favor. You have constructed a sanctuary. It wasn't built with bricks or mortar, but with boundaries. After the noise of your past, the arguments that looped in circles, the passive-aggressive silence, the constant low-level hum of managing another human being's expectations, you have finally discovered the sound of your own life. It is quiet. And to the uninitiated, that quiet sounds like emptiness. But you know better. You know it is the sound of freedom. This is the architecture of peace. It is the addictive, non-negotiable reality of total environmental control. You walk through your front door, and the atmosphere is exactly as you left it. There is no mood to assess. There is no subtle shift in the air pressure that tells you someone is disappointed, or needy, or angry about something you said 3 days ago. There is just the space, and you own every inch of it. You wake up when you want. You eat what your body needs, not what a compromise dictates. You spend 3 hours reading, or working on an engine, or staring at a wall, and you owe no explanation to anyone. You are no longer living in a democracy where every decision, from the thermostat setting to the weekend itinerary, requires a coalition government to pass. You are living in a benevolent dictatorship, and you are the dictator. This peace is not passive. It is active. It is a resource you have hoarded after years of having your reserves drained. And this is the insurmountable problem for anyone trying to enter your life now. A woman is not just competing with other women. She is competing with this. She is competing with the perfection of your autonomy. Even a good woman, a pleasant woman, brings entropy. She brings energy, questions, needs, and presence into a system that is currently running at 100% efficiency. To invite someone in is to dismantle the architecture you have spent years perfecting. It requires you to tear down the walls of your sanctuary to make room for a guest who might just decide to burn it down. And when you look at the tranquility you have built, you realize the truth. Nothing she can offer is better than the silence she would break. And now we arrive at the ultimate threat. The weapon society holds to your head when all other shaming tactics fail. They look at you with grim warnings and say, if you don't find someone, you are going to die alone. They say it like a curse. They say it like a verdict. But to the man who has done the math, this is not a threat. It is simply a reality of the human condition. We all leave this existence exactly as we entered it, solo. The only variable you can control is the quality of the life that precedes that exit. What is the alternative they are selling you? Is the goal to die in a room filled with tension? To reach the end of your days, exhausted from decades of emotional labor, clutching the hand of a stranger you settled for just to avoid the silence? There is no dignity in that. There is no honor in sacrificing your remaining years to a bad deal just to secure a witness for your final moments. To choose to die alone is actually a profound act of courage. It is the refusal to act out of fear. The world wants you to believe that your value is tied to who claims you, but you have realized that your value is intrinsic. By rejecting the bad deal, you are preserving the only thing that truly belongs to you, your soul. You are choosing to live your final chapters with your head high, your resources intact, and your spirit unbroken by compromise. You aren't a victim of circumstance. You are a man who looked at the cage, saw the door was open, and walked out. So let them whisper, let them judge. You know the truth. You aren't choosing to die alone. You are choosing to die free. You are choosing to die on your own terms, in the peace you built with your own hands, having lived a life that belonged to you until the very last breath. That is not a tragedy. That is a victory.